Hey, it's Chris. What are we doing? News! Upcoming crowdfunding! All in one. Let's go. What do you need to know? What's been going on this past week or two or whatever? And what is going to be hitting crowdfunding at the tail end of February here? Because we're talking, two relatively much larger sized weeks than the previous. And what's on the hotness? And why should you care? And why shouldn't you care? Because, Board Game Geek algorithms are kind of just screwy, trying to get you to buy whatever they can. I said what I said. Let's go. First up, in case you missed it, shut up and sit down, going over to Tom so you can welcome your new board game overlord and tastemaker, if you will. They put out the best content or the most entertaining content on the interwebs for, board games. So, you may not agree with their taste, but they're excellently entertaining. Apart from that, what else we got going on? We got some reprints, we got some expansions, we got additional content, and a lot of modularity. Now, breaking news, we have to talk about this at the beginning of the video because it was by far and away the biggest news of the past week, even though there are some very other interesting tidbits. Well, I'm sure you saw, CMON, exclusive deal to go over to Gamefound. Now, if you're looking at that and going, wow, Chris, that really sounds like it's a big coup by Gamefound from Kickstarter. Yeah, absolutely. But the weird thing about it, the first mention of it that I saw just in the brief press release that was put out, they've signed with Gamefound, right? That reminds me of college athletes. They signed with this. They signed to commit. Now, why would a company commit to a website one over the other, right? Just like now with the new college rules, which is weird because there's no details, right? And on the surface value, everyone's going, oh yes, Gamefound, awesome. You know what? And for Gamefound, this is a huge coup. For you and me, as the average consumer, guess what, folks? It doesn't mean jack squat. I'll put that out there. That's maybe going to be a little bit controversial, but hear me out, right? Like, why did CMON go over to Gamefound? It's not because they're saying, you know what? I think Gamefound is putting out a better page for our backers. No, Gamefound and CMON are both businesses. It's better for their bottom line. CMON is probably getting a good deal. They're probably getting some sort of, exclusive to incentivize them to go to Gamefound. Gamefound, meanwhile, gets a huge piece of the pie that they weren't getting previously, which is weird, the timing of this. And a couple of the articles that were generated are a little bit of fluff in terms of, look at all of CMON's numbers, here's all of Gamefound's numbers. And, they're kind of a little, it's PR and marketing, and I don't blame them. But just an interesting tidbit also came out of the Polygon article that was talking about this, because I didn't know that Gamefound got a huge influx or some sort of influx from Ravensburger to help them as well, which is very interesting as well from that aspect of things. But just that, they're basically incentivizing, paying some bottom line-esque to get CMON over there. So are we going to see it now next? They're giving a same incentive to other large crowdfunding campaigns, which also, again, begs the question of a lot of these other big ones that have gone over. Lucky Duck, Chip Theory, are they getting additional incentives to go over there? Were they enticed in some way, shape, or form? I mean, I'm assuming they were, frankly, now at this point. I have nothing to back that up. I mean, clearly it's, better from a streamlined narrative. But this whole narrative that, the backer kit is so much better for the pledge manager, is so much better for consumers. Folks, you know what? If you having to manage 2 or 3 different passwords on a different website or two, it's not that big a deal. This is all about the bottom line. And so from Gamefound, again, it's amazing for them. It's fantastic. Kickstarter's taken a dip. Kickstarter has basically been resting on their laurels of being used as the adjective like Kleenex and Q-tip, rather than actually implementing any measures that are measurable for most of the companies as well as most of the backers. And they're still, just kind of trending and floating rather than trying to still be an innovator, right? They've lost that hunger. No, it's true. But again, how does this matter to you as the consumer? Again, I don't think it does. The only thing that was of note, that was a little bit of an interesting tidbit there at the end, was that people were like, yeah, remember the easy pay and, remember the opt-in. Well, that's the last point though, because again, this is all I'm going to cover because this is a whole video's worth of unpacking shown at the short beginning segment of this news video. As far as I know right now, as far as the press release announcement from like Polygon or whatever else, CMON's not doing the opt-in shipping from what I've heard so far. Now, again, that very well may change. I don't believe they're doing it on a Song of Fire and Ice, right? The whole big thing of, Gamefound going to offer you or money back guaranteed if the shipping charge changes by 10% between, because that's been the big issue with CMON in the past. For all of the other failings of the other large companies out there, like Mythic and everything else, right? The shipping has been the big jack up for them more than anything. And so it'd be nice to see them go in with that too. Like, that's where the consumer protection, the consumer interest is of most benefit. The rest of it, again, is all window dressing. It's very nice window dressing. It's big industry news, but it's you as the actual physical consumer backer. It means not a whole lot from that aspect of things. And to be clear, even at the time of me filming this, this has been the other thing I've railed on Gamefound for, so maybe they will update this, but the search function, the active pages function that you just go to as their homepage, the what gets featured and what doesn't, you have like 3 or 4 active campaigns, and then you have more of just the late pledges, which, kind of defeats the purpose. So it's not really still any more user-friendly than it has been in the past. They're very good at putting the big names up front. Very good. Again, and Alex reached out to me after the last time I talked about Gamefound and said, hey, some of these projects that have ported over have, increases in their amounts. I can't speak to that. But, this is the stuff I can speak to. So that goes right along and into the next point that, Awaken Realms just said, that they're going to be doing their big Awaken Realms 2024 on their live stream coming at the end of the month on the 27th. With big projects, 4 mysterious pictures on the thumbnail of the link that you can do to get the live stream subscribed to and when it goes live in that sense. And I, frankly speaking, I'm not privy to any of that. I don't have any clue, folks. I'm going to be, just in your boat as well. I'm not one of those people that's got insider access to them. And again, I'm intrigued. I'd be lying to you if I tell you anything different in that sense. But, again, I want to see what we've got. Innovative, yes. Massive, expansive, sprawling, yes. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars, yes. I want a little bit of maybe just a little less too. But again, that's not where the money comes from. That's not where the hype comes from. That's not where the clicks come from. They come from the bigger, better, boomer. That's what gets often all of you to click on things, right? Right? No one's clicking on the card-driven, innovative gameplay crowdfunding campaign from last week. People are blinging out their wallets and eyes for, wow, look at how cool those miniatures are. Ooh, look at those deluxifications. So, the fact that their business model plays right into that, it makes sense. It's where the money is. And they're hitting Kickstarter, where Kickstarter has shown zero effort, as far as I know, from those aspects of incentivizing, again, creators to actually go to their site. It's not just they're all the same. They're going to offer you a bigger discount as a creator. I mean, it's not necessarily coming to us as the backer, though, as well. So we'll see if that changes, but hopefully it does as we go along. Back to your regularly scheduled news. In case you missed it, Man vs. Meeple, Jeremy Howard, my boy over there, threw a video out this past week talking about the upcoming Inside Up games and their new expansion for Earth. I just talked about this one, but what do we need to know about Earth Abundance? Because, well, there's not a whole lot of information. They showed 6 cards, or they talked about 6 cards. And you know what? I love drumming up the hype and the hotness for things that are good. I love talking about this. At the same time, give me some useful information here. Because you go over to the Board Game Geek page, and this is the most generic description that I have ever seen, right? I'm going to read this for you word for word. An expansion for Earth that allows you to enhance rich gameplay of that award-winning board game with new player interactions and opportunities to curate your hand. No, seriously, folks, that's not a Mad Lib for board games. That is the actual description that has been entered into it. It's going to be launching at the end of April, And so I'm imagining we're going to get some hype and some hype train going in the near future. Now, granted, that's about 2 months away at the time of me filming this. So, it's a little bit far out for the full hype train. But gosh darn, man, if by the end of March you're not feeling it, you will be feeling it. Speaking of that, though, let's go a completely different direction because we're going to go slightly adjacent, but we're going to go with a reprint. Did you hear? One of the harder games out of print to get, in case it was on your grail list like it kind of was mine. Blotter, in conjunction with Capstone, I believe, is putting out a reprint of Bus. One of the few worker games that has really appealed to me in a time situational based system that does something, rather classic, yet still not also really parried or achieved from more modern versions of games. It's still thought of as an all-time great for a reason, folks. More rules does not mean better depth, more gameplay, strategy, or anything else along those lines. Thicker rulebook nowadays is kind of what people go for, or more deluxified components. And you know what? I'm not going to defend Splatter. Some of the, price point per, content in terms of quality, what you're getting there, I still will argue that it's not great. But the mechanics of this game seem fantastic. And as someone who just recently acquired one of their previous Grail games of Empyrean the Contention, now I'm looking at being able to acquire this one for a more than reasonable, non-secondary, 3 times the original value scalped price that the not deluxe version was going for nowadays anyway. So yeah, I'm probably going to get it. I'm probably going to end up with it. And, we need to talk about this for a second because I didn't take my own advice. This past week, side tangent here in the news and the hotness, but my own news, right? I randomly peruse, as you all do as well, right? The various board game, distributors, publishers, the various board game sailing websites. You know what I'm talking about. Your miniature markets, your nerds, your, cool stuffs. Well, it used to be cool stuffs. Boardlandias, for example. We'll go with Boardlandias. We'll make up a name of a site and we'll call it Boardlandia. And I randomly came across a game that I was not thinking was coming out until March. And Veil of Eternia, all of a sudden they had it in stock. Now, let's see if it actually is in stock by the time you guys are viewing this, whether or not my order has shipped yet. But anyway, Valentine's Day, they had a percentage off. And not only was it in stock, it was cheaper than I expected. And so I may have done a thing. I may have met the shipping threshold for them. If there was, in theory, a site I'm totally making up called Boardlandia. And I may have gotten 1 or 2 other games to go along with that. That were on my wish list for a while that I may have talked about recently on my personal hotness in order to achieve low or the shipping threshold in the first place. And, I really kind of hit it with a Wandering Towers promo pack. But that's really what we're talking about here. So don't do what I do, because at least 2 of those games that I got will be on the don't buy it for March retail list. Monkey see, monkey do. Do what I say, not what I do, folks. I'm really hoping we're going on vacation in a couple weeks. So I'm really hoping 2 of those games will be here by then so we can take them as light card-driven games. But anyway, I digress. Bus, let's go back to it. Is it on your list? Has it been on your list? Are you interested? It's probably the only Splatter game that I've been seriously super ever interested in from a mechanical standpoint, because it's more of my ilk. But that's what we've got going on there. Then, if you weren't aware, Kemet from Matago, Kemet Blood and Sand, their deluxified conglomerate of this area control fighting style people on a map, right, is now coming back later this year. I'm assuming sometime upcoming in Q2-ish. That'd be my guess, with the announcement of more modules. And if you go over to Matago's website, they're saying that they're giving people what they've been clamoring for. I didn't know, but apparently solo mode, right? Area control and solo mode. I just, it always screams to me, we're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, but sure, whatever. And then, again, giving you a new god so you can play this game somehow with 6 people. 6 people? Are you really sure you want to spend that much time playing this game with 6 people? Anyway, but also some sort of new game mode. I don't know. Does that sound intriguing? The artistic value on the website promoting it, boy howdy, is really freaking awesome. And, you can go over to their website and get the, hype going if you like that sort of thing in the first place. It's going to be completely compatible, integratable, as well as not standalone though. So you're gonna have to have the original stuff. But if you missed the original stuff and you were a little FOMOing, it's gonna be available too on the upcoming campaign. So, I mean, are you intrigued? Was Kemet one of those games for you? Was it not? Has it stood the test of time? I'd argue probably has. But I think with that type of game, Cyclades or Enos, people have their own preferred version, Blood Rage, whatever it may be, Ankh even. And so I don't see it where people are like, I love all of these are tremendously excellent. It's more like, okay, I have one or two of my favorites. And for this, that was one of them for those. So we'll see what else they've got in store for us. But speaking of modules, let's stay with this because several people's, one of the best games of 2023, Distilled, is now coming back as well this year with crowdfunding. I think it's coming to crowdfunding with more modules. So Patterson Games is bringing us more, and there were two little module mini expansion that was available during the campaign, the Africa and Middle East expansion that offers a little bit more in those ways. But the real question is going to be, what else is it going to offer you? I mean, the previous one, distilleries, recipes, signature ingredients, marked premium ingredients, solo gold cards, spirit labels, distillery stuff, everything. So do you need more with this? Does it feel like it needs a new level of complexity? I don't know. This is a game, it never really appealed to me. The alcohol theme just isn't necessarily something I'm going to pick up and really want to throw down with. But it's one of those games I would be happy to trade for, end up with a copy with, and try it out because mechanically, I don't know how I feel, speaking of it. So we're going to see if it can really capitalize on its absolutely bangbuster, out of the box, unexpected blow up of a campaign the first time around. And it's probably going to do similarly this second time. But the question is, do you need more of a good thing? That's always the question with a lot of this stuff. And then we're staying with the more content from Van Ryder. They have now announced, and is present over on BoardGameGeek, Detective City of Angels is getting a new game solving cases in Los Angeles in the 1940s of saints and sinners. The epic narrative game where you are a detective trying to solve these crimes with clues. And you're going to have 3 more cases. One last hit for the hitman, Cloak and Daggered, and Blast from the Past. So are you a fan of these? Again, I'd say some people like this one above all else. And the question is, just with this one is, if you're one of these, again, are you interested? Do you have enough of this? Do you guys find that you replay these? Like, if you play these once or twice, do you guys really come back to them? Would you play this with a different group if you'd already played it with someone originally? That was my problem with Destinies, right? Where I said, I can play this through once, and then I'm not sure I'd want to play it again with someone else because I kind of already know what to do, and it's going to give me an advantage. But, I mean, obviously, this is a little bit different as a whole. And I know that this has a relatively well thought of pedigree. I mean, there's a reason that it's ranked in the top 700 and top 100 thematically, for Board Game Geek. I feel like these games are also just like the escape room ones, right? They're either your type of game or they're just not. That's my own personal feeling. It's kind of like the horror genre for movies. Like, you either like that a lot or it just has absolutely no interest. There's not a lot of people that I meet that are like, yeah, you know what? I kind of feel like a horror movie. I kind of am okay with that. Like, not many people are, black or white, hot or cold. So that's what we've got going on then. And then, if you were familiar with the first time around, A Gentle Rain, this very quaint, Zen-like solo game is coming back with a new edition. It's kind of been out of print, and there's a little bit more content called Bloom coming with it. I guess the blessing of this Bloom edition is actually that it's maybe not going to be terribly different, just a little bit different artistically style speaking, because that's going to be the Target exclusive. Yes, that's right, Target for $20. That's fantastic, actually. You know what? People poo-poo on Target all the time, but let's talk about that for a second. It's a great freaking exposure for people that aren't used to this type of game in the first place. And so I just think that's an all-around win. And if you're a publisher or a designer and getting a game in Target, folks, that is massive. Don't discount that. I mean, that is just so much better than getting a game, at a friendly local game store. Much more mass market, much more wide appeal, much more, this also. And then it sustains you to go get and do the other stuff that you may prefer, right? So that's why it's so good in the first place. In case now you're familiar with the game, all you're doing is drawing tiles and matching up sides. Drawing the tiles, matching up sides, creating blooms of flowers in between, rinsing and repeating until you just can't do it anymore with the tiles. So game's concept is relatively simple. Again, very zen-like and just creating a nice, beautiful pattern. They're giving some touch-up of the artwork. And so you're going to have now the wide availability of it in the first place, which was more of the issue, I think, once people found out they kind of liked it on the solo side of things. Going back over to something more my speed a little bit, another Crossroads game from Plaid Hat. Now, though, designer is going back to Jerry Hawthorne. Myths and Mystics, anyone? So that's going to be intriguing. Wandering Galaxy, ragtag bunch of starship crew going around the edge of chartered space searching for fame and riches. I mean, it definitely gives me more of the vibe, again, of the previous two games. You have Forgotten Waters, you have Freelancers. I mean, those two is what I'm expecting this to be more of. Now, with Jerry Hawthorne being included, because I don't think he was involved in the previous two, no. And so that's going to give me a different vibe. And, you know, frankly speaking, again, this is going to be an unpopular opinion. Liege's unpopular opinion of the video, right? I actually, of the three of them, if you said to me, Chris, which one would you want to play the most right now, today, with anybody, I'd actually tell you Dead of Winter. I would. Just, I don't know, there's just something about it. I just like that style of game as a whole. I like the Crossroads events there. Other people may prefer the randomness, the crazy, chaotic funness, and mitigation with the dice that goes along with the other two, you know, especially Freelancers. But, you know, Freelancers is essentially an upgraded Forgotten Waters. Let's not, you know, I'll say that as someone who owns both. And so that'd be my only qualm. I'd really like something more along the lines of a Dead of Winter. So if, you know, more details come out, and this, surprisingly, unlike the last three, this one's coming to crowdfunding. Q2-ish. So Plaid Hat, let's see what you got in store. I mean, you know me, and you know I'm your boy with Summoner Wars 2, right? Like, those 2 new expansions you sent me, woo! Very happy with those. Very happy with those. We'll talk about those in another video. But that's the question, right? What is this going to do? Are people going to like it? Because it's not like a gamer's game, right? It's not like this mechanically super sound. It's just a fun experience. That's what those games are. And, you know, it's more Crossroads the experience game. And are you one of those people? Do you want an experience or do you want a technical masterpiece? What side of that aisle do you fall on? Because nowadays, that seems to be the side of things, right? My heavy euros, my Ameritrashes, thrashes, whatever, right? I go for the experience of Nemesis, not these are perfect rules, minutia, whatever, right? Or, you know, so on and so forth. So that's going to be the interesting test of this, because again, like, why am I going to get this on crowdfunding? Plaid Hat. Why am I going to get this on crowdfunding? And I think that's interesting to see companies that haven't used that platform in that sense to show us what the incentive is going to be, because I hope it's not going to be something like you're going to go super mega expansive and this is going to be a $100 box on crowdfunding because of just they want to cram everything under the sun into it, right? I want this to be a $40 game like the other couple have been, right? That's what I'm looking forward towards. That's my big problem with some of the other stuff that's coming out in that sense. Retail games that are being crowdfunded for those reasons, rather than they like, okay, whatever, right? I'm not going to dive into that, you know, need, want, size of company, overhead, free loan. I see it from both sides. So we'll leave it at that and we'll go from there. Then another one just intriguingly crossed my eye, and this is translated into Video Game Champion, and this is Obam do Video Game. And we're going to see it. Arcane Wonders is bringing it back to North America with a middling, you know, 2 weight on boardgamegeek, where you've got some hand management, action selection, action grid style, correspondingly putting down your chips in columns and rows in order to assemble sort of a poker style situation to activate combinations in your hand to finish the game. So you're managing these resources and money to gain promise and access to more video games as you're unlocking them, new releases, magazines, combination of these, you know, to basically beat each game to unlock more. And point salad system, they say, between finished games, most games played, most new releases, right? And that's like a real life meta board game style situation. Oh, that one hits a little too close to home, doesn't it? So I think it's an intriguing concept. I really like the aspect of a little bit of a meta style of things. It reminds me of Millennium Blades in a sense. Spoilers right there, folks. I'm leaving it there. Millennium Blades, keep your eyes open. We'll leave it at that. But I'm intrigued to see Arcane Wonders is porting in a lot of this stuff, and so I want to see what they can do with this one as well. I believe the other one that's coming from them, the other port, Comic Hunters as well, is going to be coming out sometime this year too. So You know, it's worth it, folks. It's worth it to go outside of your usual horizons. I wish more people would pick up some of these Japanese games as well. So, I mean, one of my favorites, Rumble Nation. Somebody's going to pick that up in North America one of these times, and then people are going to ecstatically exclaim how good of a game that is. So, I'll leave it at that. What else is on the hotness this week? Well, I mean, usual suspects are pretty much all there. A couple of new additions, a couple of new changes since last week. Imperium Horizons is still on there as the next big box Imperium game. You know, if you want more solos, again, I'm going to give it a chance. I put it in my video from earlier this week of games that are on my purge list. And I want to know, like, is this a game? So I'm going on vacation, like I mentioned yesterday, in the near future, and I think I might just bring it with me. Bring a couple of the decks with me and just see if I can learn how to play it and do it from that aspect, either solo or two-player. So I'm going to give that one a second shot, but otherwise, you know what? You know, old Roman Emperor style. So that's up there. MLEM, I talked about this one previously as well, the space agency, Cats, Astronauts in Space. A couple big name people put their reviews out from that aspect of things, you know, likening it to just a very fun game. Bitewing, I think they talked about it over on their podcast, and they said they really liked it as well, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm sorry, Nick, if I'm putting words in your mouth. But it's an intriguing light style game for me, and it fits everything I'm looking for, with a shorter playtime, under an hour, under 2.0 weighting, but also a little bit of randomness, chaotic, that I love in the first place. Similarly, the other thing you may have seen making waves, it's not on the hotness, but I guarantee it's going to be on the hotness very shortly. A review of both Board Game Co., I think Dice Tower, and even you know, Game Boy Geek, that they all put out their review of the OP's Aqua biodiversity game. And spoilers, I may have ordered a copy, because I had that game as one of my top anticipated retail games when I did that at the end of December, early January. I said, this game from OP looks OP. Haha! And so it's on my radar, and the reviews on it are really good. People are saying, like, Spiel-esque style. It's not gonna be for everyone. Has more of a Calico-esque, you know, create your own pattern, you know, a little bit of Cascadia vibe, but now underwater, right? And I told you repeatedly, last year even, that this nature thing is where all the rage is. See the beginning of the video with Earth, right? It's happening, it's happening, it's happening, it's more and more and more. And so this may be no different. And I'm intrigued to see what this game is actually going to look like, and I'm hoping to get this one before I go on vacation so I can bring it with me and test it out so I can talk to you after I get back. Because the other game that I ordered along with that was the other 2024 release that was on people's hotness for the end of 2023. Again, my own personal issues about rating games that aren't widely available in the market that I'm in, and putting them on your top 10 list for that previous year as Veil of Eternity. And so I've got a copy of both of those coming my way, and those are going to be near my top want to play pile list essentially right now. So do you think Ultimate Mage Knight is portable in vacation? Just kidding, of course it is. So what else is on the hotness? Well, there's not really else a whole lot in terms of like the new or different, the usual suspects. The only thing up there right now is otherwise Osprey Games is getting attention from the Undaunted 2200 Callisto. So basically a futuristic version of their Undaunted War series. And the details, though, are next to none. Next to none. I don't even think there's a release date at this point. And so people just anticipate it because of the relatively highly esteemed Undaunted pedigree in the first place. Of this is a mechanically sound, non-war war game that I love, with a card-driven, you know, utilization aspect with strategy as well as tactical prowess, if you will. I did Battle for Britain. I always mess that up. And I said, this is a completely and utterly amazingly technically sound game, but I just didn't find it was as fun as I wanted, right? Like, just some mild disconnect there in terms of, this is an amazing game, but it's not necessarily an amazing game purely and solely for me. So I'd be lying to you if I said that this wasn't on my radar of things that, I'm a little bit peaked. Again, my mother, the English teacher, would be proud about that one. But that's kind of what we got going on. Now, this one looks like, again, very little information. The playtime is listed under an hour, which it would be an improvement. I would make the argument that, you know, the Britain one is a little longer. You could easily play each scenario longer than an hour. The setup teardown's a little much. I think it's an intriguing premise, and I kind of want to, well, show me what you got, Osprey. Let's go. The other last thing on the hotness is because NPI did their review of Daybreak. And I don't really know. I didn't watch their video, but I think they really liked it from that aspect of things. So correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. I probably am. Maybe they hated it. I don't know. It made waves. That's all I know. Their videos are very good at bringing up, topics in that sense. So that's the other reason that one is on the Hotness as well. But there you go. A few others just with the crowdfunding side of things. Trailblazer, the Arizona Trail, it's crowdfunding right now. Then Mythwind, I believe, is delivering, and they're doing a reprint within the next month and a half or so. ISS Vanguard, Arc Nova are all the usual stays. Speakeasy from last week is still up there as an upcoming Lacerda, and Dune War for Arrakis because it's getting delivered in addition. So what's upcoming crowdfunding this week, though? Well, first and foremost, Dante's Inferno, right? Dante's Inferno from Creative Game Studios. This is the big one. This is the one that had a lot of people. I know Alex from Board Game Co. This was his top most anticipated upcoming crowdfunding project of all of 2024, I believe. I'm very bad about recollecting these things very well. And I mean, again, like I talked about it in my most anticipated of February in general, that CGS has a good reputation of these board games for being creative and being unique, especially with Chronicles of Junogor. Like, it's a good pedigree from that aspect. They're doing the terrain thing again. They're doing the easy pay thing again, I'm sure. So it's going to be a big bling along with a big price point. And so that's my only problem, right? I look at this and I go, how many dungeon crawls can I have? I can't get, and I still have coming like Madara, right? The rest of Madara. And I just got Mythic Battles Ragnarok. I just got Eyes of Vanguard. And I'm looking at this. I'd love to pick up on the secondary market someone's Chronicles of Junor Age of Apocalypse expansion pledge. But I'm going, I can't get that played, or I'm playing it two-handed. And, with the games like this, my other concern, especially with Madara, especially with Aeon Trespass Odyssey, right? You got to play with 4. Like, you can't play with 2. Like, Chronicles of Junor was a great, twist on that it didn't solely require you to have 4. Which was freaking amazing. But, again, then you start to worry about how well does it actually scale? Because some of these games scale really well, and some of them don't scale as well as you would like. And so Dante's Inferno, it's like one of the 3 games of, based off of the literature that are launching within like a month span here on crowdfunding. And so the other one is just Inferno, that's launching similarly, that is diving a different way through like the literal layers of hell, and it's more of a Euro style, I believe, rather than a pure like Amerith Thrash dungeon crawl heavy miniature based situation. But that's only 2 of the 3 that are launching as well. So there's all of these other ones that are going to be tricking out in addition to that. The other big one that's going to be launching, well, I mean, freaking big all over the place, right? Thunder Road freaking Vendetta is coming back with Carnival of Chaos, and they're over on Backer Kits because we've all been super excited by what Backer Kit has offered. I say that facetiously, but at the same time, like, Backer Kit, show me something, right? Like, Backer Kit's been like, okay, well, we're not going to do anything but essentially unreveals. And a few of the campaigns that have been on there, like Spirit Island, Nature Incarnate, again, wholly, utterly lackluster, right? And zero incentive unless you wanted foils, or unless it wasn't available in your country and you wanted to bundle large portions of it to get it. So I haven't really been intrigued. Now with Restoration, they've offered a cheaper product, and Maximum Chrome's coming back. So again, it's not like it's not going to do gangbusters, folks. It's going to blow things out of the water. I mean, those 2 are going to be by far, potentially, in a way, the 2 biggest funding campaigns of the year to this date. The biggest one at the time of me filming this, funding-wise, I believe, is still Conan. And it was 7 digits, but not like high 7 digits. Didn't even break 2 million, I think. And so would you be shocked if either one of those broke 2 million? Now, Thunder Road may not have as big of an audience, but there's a lot of people that want Maximum Chrome that haven't been able to get it. And CGS is going to kill things no matter what, especially with the add-ons. And by the time the all-in is probably going to be like $475, right? Speaking of that, I'll be filming shortly after this the You Shouldn't Back Anything, and I'll probably include stuff like that, as well as Song of Ice and Fire, because they've got like 4 expansions now, even with like a week left. So we'll talk about that as well. But that's going to be the question. How are you splitting your money? Because we haven't even gotten to the 3rd big one that's launching. But are you going to get Maximum Chrome? Do you have the expansions that are included in it? Do you utilize all of them? Are you going to go for Carnival of Chaos? Carnival of Chaos sounds like a Liege-driven named game expansion, right? Like Carnival of Chaos. That might as well be the subtitle of my channel, right? In a nutshell. Boom, there you go, because you never know what you're going to get. And I love causing chaos, getting myself in trouble, and trying to keep my foot out of my mouth on a video by video basis. And I'm not very good at it, in case you noticed. So, boom, there's 2. What's the 3rd one? Well, the 3rd one, this one's going to be a little interesting as well. it's a fourth time around from a new company. Well, you may have a previously sour taste in your mouth from Blacklist, but Street Masters 4 is coming back, and it's coming back from Steamforged. And we're going to see what they got going on here, because I don't have a freaking clue. The Champion Edition, the reimagining, you know, I traded for a copy of the base game inadvertently. I liked it. Then I went in on the pledge, and then I played the base game some more, and I didn't like it. The idea of what Street Masters is offering, this combo-based Street Fighter style, grid-based fight 'em out game, is tremendous. The miniatures were not good. Wee little tiny miniatures. And then Blacklist, when we don't need to talk about Blacklist. That's, again, a whole blacklisted blacklist of a video. But needless to say, some people are really nostalgic and really turned on by that game of the potential and the aspects that I just mentioned. And so Steamforged can easily solve the miniature version, and they're taking a game that has a relatively good pedestal, you know, from a mechanical standpoint originally, although the errata was horrible. The minutia of trying to figure out what some of the, you know, headway was also not great. And ultimately, that's what turned me off and ended up getting rid of it in the first place for me. I actually just sold my whole Aftershock pledge without even opening it, because the base game gave me such frustration on trying to figure out some of the small detailed stuff. And so I'd love to see a spruced up, you know, improvement 3.0 version of things. I mean, even though it's, you know, 4, but that's what you're really going to be looking at here. And with Steamforged, what else are we going to see? You know, what other surprises are they going to have in store for us? And what is the price point going to look like from this one coming around? I mean, again, well-established pedigree. And the last one up is actually Vampire the Masquerade Chapters. Now, I confused this because originally I thought this was the TCG-esque light game, but this is the one from Flyos, where it's actually more of an RPG dungeon-esque adjacent game without a dungeon master. And yes, so we're going to see story-driven strategy, role-playing all rolled into one. Now, this is going to be supposedly the definitive edition. So what is that actually going to bring and entail? Well, over on the forums, besides the complaining of the errata that's dealing with the first time around, brand new expansion for setting in a few years after the original campaign ends, 3 new clans, different events based on the previous ending, and 8 new chapters. Potentially, they're wondering also if there's going to be an upgrade / errata pack to go along with it. So, I mean, we'll see, I guess, right? Was this one on your radar? I mean, I remember it when it went, and Vampire the Masquerade is a very, very popular IP, especially on the RPG side of things. But I have yet to see a really, really super enticing game to capture that on the tabletop board game side of things. So is this that one? It's got an okay rating of 7.6 with only 400 ratings, though. So take that for what you will, for the thousands of people that probably backed it, and it's a little bit heavier overall with a 3 rating. And how do you feel about GM-less RPG games? Very, very niche in that sense. So we'll see, because, you know, again, nostalgia-based IP is bringing in the cash, but are you happy with the mechanics is what you got to ask yourself each time you're looking at it from that science. And you know what? We'll just end right there. You know, I could talk about the week of the 27th, but I'll save that for next weekend with whatever news and other tidbits come along my way. And you know what? What should I do? What should I do? Should I get myself a copy of Wormspan? You know what? I'll end the video with that. What do you think? Should I go after Wormspan? I thought about buying it. I thought about pre-ordering it, right? I've tried, you know, attempting a couple messages on Board Game Geek for early adapters that have it that are offering it for trade, but no bites so far. What do you think? Wormspan. Should I acquire it? Let me know down below. I'll put up a poll maybe on the YouTube general community page as well. You can let me know. And as a side note, a very astute person, I'll say, that I've mentioned in the comments as well several times, put out an idea, you know, because several of you have commented about this as well. Like, my production is what it is, and this is, you know, sort of things. And I don't know if it's from the camera that I have that I use for that one. I think it's a combination of the camera, but it's also maybe the laptop that I use, because I'm streaming recording straight from the camera onto the laptop, of trying to upgrade some of this stuff. So if I did something like a GoFundMe, if I did something like that to upgrade some of this stuff, would you support me? Pure curiosity here, because I hate asking. I hate it. It makes me so uncomfortable Like, I get social anxiety opening up my email, looking at the comments for the videos, let alone sending messages to publishers and opening their responses to me, let alone, God, for anything with this about asking something along those lines. But I'm putting it out there. And again, like I said yesterday, I'm thinking about doing some shorts, but shorts. I wear sweatpants all the time. Dad joke aside, like YouTube shorts, because everyone says, well, shorts are how you grow your subscribers. Really, I'm not clever. I'm not edgy enough in short form to do that. But if you think I could, or if you think I should do it in some way, shape, or form, let me know. Let me know what you think. Would you do that? Would you watch that? Would that be of interest? I don't know. That's a time commitment too. And it's not necessarily less. It's just, I feel like I would be lazy with it, which is why they wouldn't be any good. But let me know what you think down below about all those topics right there. Those 3 big hitters at the end here. Wormspan, Fund Me, and shorts. That's a really weird sentence to throw out, in the first place. That's all I got. Stay classy. Have a great freaking day. I'm working all weekend. 12 days in a row, folks. 3 out of 4 doctors do not recommend that. And the 4th doctor is too busy to answer the question because he's also working 12 days in a row. So anyway, that's all I got. I'm done. Peace out. Have a great freaking day. Play something fun.